Good morning. Happy Saturday, everybody. Welcome to our Natural Health News Live show. I'm your host, Dr. Melissa Gallagher, and every day since now 11 weeks ago, I have been hosting a Natural Health News Live show to report to you COVID-19 coronavirus news, information, research, statistics, data, proven clinical tools, and resources, tips, and tricks for you to keep you and your families healthy and safe during this pandemic time. So welcome to all of you. If you are new and joining, I want to welcome you to our community. We have the live chat on here on YouTube, and Pat and Ron are our moderators, so say hi to them. And for all of you on Instagram, you can just shoot a little comment down below, hit the emoji buttons, and ask questions. So welcome, everybody. Today, I'm responding to a poll that I posted yesterday on our YouTube community tab about the topic for this weekend's show. And an overwhelming percentage of you voted on wanting to learn more about anti-inflammatory foods. And so I thought I'd kind of do a twist. And today's topic, after we go over the news, I want to talk to you about 9 inflammatory producing foods to avoid. Because honestly, if you don't eliminate these foods out of your diet, it doesn't matter the quantity of foods that you get that are anti-inflammatory. If you don't eliminate these and completely scrap from your diet, you're really going to be spinning your wheels. And so I definitely want to dig into these critical foods that you want to eliminate. So that will be today's video topic. And thanks again for all of you voting. So let's dig into news. And by the way, I have my windows open. I know you guys here on Instagram, this usually cuts out a lot of background noise, but if the birds out here, we gave them a whole bunch of new food last night. If it gets too loud, let me know and I'll just close my window. So welcome all of you. First of all, I want to highlight, and I'm actually going to put in the comment box below. I get a lot of your questions even before we kick off. It's Memorial Day weekend, and there's a ton of health and wellness related Memorial Day sales. And while this is not a sponsored post, I want to share with you all of the makeup I wear, I buy off of my one favorite site, and it's called Aaliyah.com. And I'm posting the link for all of you on the chat box here on YouTube, and it'll be in the description box below. If you want natural, clean skincare, body care, soaps, cleansers, makeup, everything, even nail polish, Aaliyah.com is an online vendor. They have multiple stores. They have one here in Atlanta, and they have 15% off, full store-wide, except for there's four core providers that don't participate, but everything else is 15% off. So all you have to do is click that link and go shopping. And every morning I wear Darling by Clove & Hollow. That's what's on my lips. And then I know you have a lot of comments about my highlighter. It's Ilia, I-L-I-A. And it's this little highlighter. And a lot of times I'll just put it over my eyelids, and that's kind of my go-to. So have at it. Feel free to enjoy. I wanted to tell you guys about that sale because I get lots of questions about skincare and makeup. I use pretty much everything they sell. And Vinter's Daughter's a big favorite of mine. Also, May Lindstrom's another favorite. Josh Rosebrook. There's just so many good ones. Okay, so let's dig into some news, friends. I've got lots of news, and we're going to end with some good news today. The U.S. is at 1.63 million cases. The world is at 5.22 million. Countries we're monitoring, Russia is in the second spot as a country. They're at 335,000, almost 336. Brazil's moving up a lot. They now have 333,000 cases, almost 334. They probably hit it already. We are expecting some massive growth out of Brazil and then other Latin American countries because of the population, the density in certain areas in Brazil, and they're just not ready. So on that note, I know we get a lot of spammers. I get a lot of messages from people. They comment here about how the coronavirus is fake and that it's been created by a doctor in a lab and it's a Chinese bioweapon. Well, I think this is really kind of interesting. Now the conversation in Russia and China is that this is a US bioweapon. So, there's just a certain subset of a population in our country and other countries that want to create this misinformation and make false claims. So I think that's kind of interesting. So if you see those people commenting, just say, well, they think the same about us and that we created this bioweapon, which none of that's true. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the states. I'm going to break down some states, give you some state-specific news. And for all of you joining, let me know where you're tuning in from. I know we have an international community, and then I have some specific areas that I want to target for any of you here in the US. So New York is at 358,000 cases. And last night, the governor issued an order where the beaches will be open for Memorial Day weekend. For any of you who haven't been up in that area or summered in the Northeast, the big point of kicking off the season for summertime, and it's a very different type of environment between winter and summer. Memorial Day kicks off the Hamptons, it kicks off Newport and the Cape. So all of the beach, Long Island, all of the areas where there are beaches, this is a big weekend that kicks it off. So they have opened up those beaches, and the governor has said that it'll be okay for groups, obviously maintaining social distancing, masking, wearing goggles, face protection, including eye protection, as I mentioned the other day. They're limiting it up to 10 people in a group. That's really big. So New Jersey's at 152,000. Illinois is in the third spot here in the US. They're at 105,000. And that state is in lockdown. However, residents are crossing state lines. So if you have a state bordering Illinois, there's a possibility that there may be some localized spread depending on where those people are coming from. Because one of the things that they're starting to see with the mobility is that people are choosing to go outside of their state, and there's a possibility of spread. So just FYI, yesterday I referenced a map, and I don't see it on my desk. I referenced a map that identifies local outbreaks, and we'll dig into that further because there are some areas you might want to reference the chart and the map if you are saying going for a hike, like we're thinking about going on a hike. Well, we wouldn't do it in the northwest of Georgia. We might do it on the northeast of Georgia, given that there are fewer outbreaks. So it's just, those are things to kind of consider if you're choosing to be a little bit more mobile. Massachusetts is at 90,000. California is at 88,000. And even though that state's in lockdown, LA County is still a hot spot. Pennsylvania is at 66,000. Michigan's at 53. Texas is at 53 as well. And there is a new projection. There's a particular lab that has put out different projections in terms of localized outbreaks. The Harris County, the projections within Harris County are that in a matter of 2 weeks, they're expecting there to be over 2,000 cases a day in Harris County. That comprises Houston, and I know we have a huge amount of viewers in that area. Apparently, it's one of the largest counties in the U.S. from what Brian's told me, because I always wonder, like, wow, where are all these people coming from? Why Houston? But it's a big county. Oh, and by the way, this morning I'm drinking from my Life is Good cup. So this is my spring inspiration. I'm going to be spending a lot of time outdoors. And while I worked on all my notes here for all of you, I was behind me on the window was our hummingbird feeder. And I swear this one hummingbird visited it like 30 times. So I tried to get photos of them, but they're so fast. So this is my inspiration for this morning. So hope all of you are having a great, beautiful Saturday morning. As far as states goes, what they're looking at, there are 24 states that still have some degree of uncontrolled spread. Now we're starting to zero in on local areas. We're starting to zero in on counties and specific components within the counties. The cases that are at the highest peak within those 24 states It's called, I want to say Crawford, Illinois, Colfax, Nebraska. Pretty much the entire state of Alabama has spotted kind of outbreaks. Texas, Houston, and Dallas, that Harris County, that's the main core area. Parts of Oklahoma, Richmond, Virginia, and DC's in a state of an outbreak. And so that's the other thing. They're looking at DC, Maryland, and Virginia in those areas. And then where I grew up and spent a lot of time summering, so I'm familiar with the Memorial Day kicking off beach adventures, Southeast Gold Coast of Florida. That's the St. Pete, Tampa, Clearwater, Sarasota community. They're seeing some increased cases. Now, when I say increased cases, some of these cases are like 20, but we know 20 can equal 20,000 very quickly if it's not controlled. And there's a potential that this 3-day weekend, we'll just have to see in 2 weeks what happens because of the way this outbreak works. So welcome to all of you. Loving all these beautiful emojis. Look at LF. Good morning. She's got the cutest little emojis over here. Thank you. And hello, Sheila. Yay. And K Diddy 44. Good morning. Just want to say hi. Melliger. Melliger. I don't know if I said your name right. And Vicky Wells. Hey, Vicky. Ebbers loves my earrings. Thank you. These are from a local coffee shop. I was trying to support them when things really started to melt down here. And they did a delivery, and these were one of them. I still can't find my toilet paper earrings. They're somewhere around my desk. My desk is just quite voluminous in terms of the quantity of reports and stuff. Like this is in my two file pile. So, okay, let's dig into more information. The children, these cases of the multi-system inflammatory situation. There are 3 deaths that really highlighted this significantly within the pediatric community. Here in the US, we have a 5, 7, and 18-year-old who have passed from COVID, but these complications with this new particular diagnosis, and it is COVID related. So what pediatricians have done this week, they've come together, a video conference, and basically what they want to identify, they're doing testing, genetic testing. So there are blood testing, and they've actually, one of the children who has passed, they're collecting their genetic test as well to identify some comparisons, because what they're thinking is there may be some sort of genetic defect or maybe a possible mutation that's linking this for all of these kids, because the age ranges, they're so varied, like 18 and 5, that's a very different system when it comes to the kids. But there are 161 children right now, just in New York alone. Another one, and they didn't identify it in the article I read, but there was one pediatrician that had 40 cases in his pediatric ICU ward. That's insane. 40 kids. Could you imagine that? So that is going to be something I'll be monitoring as a parent. I'm very cognizant. I think all of us, especially with possible schools reopening, like yesterday, Florida said that they're going to allow all recreational sports to happen for kids. We personally, in our family, we're not there yet. I need more information when it comes to keeping our kids safe. So on the COVID front, I don't know if any of you guys are basketball players or fans of basketball, but Patrick Ewing, who is now the Georgetown basketball coach, he played with the Knicks. He tested positive. He announced that yesterday. Ohio, this is interesting. Ohio is using undercover investigators during this weekend. They're not undercover cops per se, but they're like investigators. They're going in, and their specific focus when they're going into bars and restaurants is to identify if these restaurants are either defying the state requirement for masking of employees and customers. And so they're going to be issuing citations specific to public safety. That makes me feel really good, because at this point, it's a wild west. There's nothing, at least in Georgia, regulating this. And we're not seeing across the board, like in Texas, there are really nice steak restaurants not even requiring employees to wear masks. So, this is where we have to be smart. If you want to protect yourself, where you frequent, where you shop, we vote with our dollars in this. And so I'm going to support all those vendors, boutiques, retailers, stores and restaurants that showcase the degree of public safety that I think is necessary. that's already laid out by the CDC, and the guidelines are quite broad. And so there's a lot of gray that people can kind of skew. I'd rather we deliver on exceptional sides, the optimal side of public safety versus the bare minimum, because in bare minimum, there's a potential for risk. Okay, so on that front, I want to highlight a little bit about April. So, the unemployment numbers came out. We have just overwhelming quantity of unemployment cases. And I know still people in Florida have not yet gotten in through the system, and they've had just challenges. So I think we're going to continue to see those numbers increase. But in April alone, the 3 states, and I'm saying this because I know some of you who watch frequently are from these states. April, the heaviest hit states with unemployment rates, Nevada is number 1. They have 28.2% just in April. So not including March and not including May, but just April alone, the rate of unemployment in Nevada was 28.2%. Think about the casinos, the gaming industry, heavily hit. My first conference where all this started melting down, I canceled my presentation knowing that Atlanta was just too much of a hub of traffic that I was not going to expose us. And it ended up being a conference that maintained them. They continued to put on the conference, much to my frustration. But Nevada, 28.2%, Michigan, 22.7%, and Hawaii is 22.3%. We have Lois in Hawaii. I don't know if Lois is on, but she'll be watching this on the replay for sure. So lots of love. Yay, Lois, you're there. Okay, so Lois, Hawaii is very much a destination. Tourism's really big a part of that. I was expecting to see Florida, even New York on those, the higher level of numbers. But I think it's interesting that there's so many different facets at play. But just for April, those are the top 3 states. So I do want to highlight, I'm going to end the news part of our show with some positives, because, one of the things that all of us that are cognizant of the amount of children that get their health and their food sources are from schools, and with all the school closures, the big question mark is, how are these children being fed? And 1 out of 5, these are true stats. 1 out of 5 children, school-age children, are going hungry right now, are without food. So I'm happy to report, finally, they've gotten kind of all coordinated, but the USDA, their summer food service program, has linked up with the schools and the youth programs, and they have been for a few weeks. They're distributing groceries and prepared meals, and now it's being extended through the end of August for all of these families, these children. So it's not just the child that is going to be impacted. And they're even seeing, like in Chicago, there are affluent communities where the cost of living is really high. So even if their jobs decrease in terms of the salary, or they lose their job, the cost of living differential is a factor. So it's affecting everybody. But the USDA, they have a Farmers to Families program, and this is rolled out across the USA, and you can go to their website. So if you search USDA and they have a Farmers to Families program, this is delivering food services and resources to families. And some of these communities, they're every week, there are 5,000 meals and food items, grocery items, necessary essentials going to these families and these kids, which is, I'm happy, because the farmers had food that was not being utilized by the restaurants, and packaging, there's a difference between like commercial and then industry, like food industry related packaging and the methodologies and the processing. So there was a potential surplus of a lot of food, and there still is, but what they're doing is they're bridging the gap. Farmers have food, families need food, and they're making that connection. And it's part of a $3 billion effort that's happening. So I wanted to put that out there. That's something that I think about, at night. It's like, oh my gosh, all these poor kiddos, and what can we do? So the other thing too is lots of communication yesterday about church services. I've highlighted yesterday and, throughout the last few weeks, If you can, please continue to have your virtual services and just be really aware that some of the major hotspots and the contact tracing to outbreaks have actually, it's not just church communities, but they've come from communities that are in enclosed spaces. Singing emits a higher amount of respiratory particles. So there is definitely a concern on the public safety front of not having in-person services, but to protecting the community. So if you can continue to maintain your virtual services, logging in and viewing your communities, and even if your church isn't providing it, there are tons of others within your religious leaning. So just know they're out there for all different types of religious communities and support for your spiritual health. And that is a necessary item as well. Okay, so yeah, so the people are the church, not the body, Cheryl says. Let's see. Okay, so I'm seeing lots of good commentary. So Cheryl, sorry, not Cheryl, Crystal says there's a town in Simi Valley, California that has signs out in front of their store, and they said if you have a mask or gloves on, you cannot come into our store. We welcome you in with a hug. They said if you have a mask or glove, you cannot come in. That's so wild. Like, how could they do that? Okay. So, and now, that is one of those things, like that would be a store I would pass by. I'd probably post on social. I might engage in a little social shaming and that type of thing. At least let people know. I mean, it's just crazy. So that's good. Anita's church is still having an e-church. Rowan, my mom is a school bus driver and has been passing out school lunches along her original bus routes. It's kept her job. Kids in lower income areas are very happy to get sack lunches. That's great. Yes. And so that is definitely the Chicago area. I know there was, I think 500 children or families that the buses were still doing their work. And that is something that the degree of unemployment that we have, it's not like this is going to go away in 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks. And businesses are pivoting. There's changes happening. I don't know what's going to happen. Nobody does. But I do think a realistic assessment is that we're going to see families in this zone for more than probably we feel comfortable with. In fact, there's no comfort level to that. Okay, so are you guys ready for foods to avoid to lower your inflammatory response? The inflammation levels are a big factor for not just improving your health, making you feel better, reducing your pain, enhancing your digestive process, enhancing your absorption of nutrients, but it also is a very key element in lowering your risk factor for COVID and coronavirus, because this whole inflammatory state, the cytokine storm, can get even further exacerbated with these underlying health conditions that are very inflammatory related. So diabetes is an inflammatory related disease. Heart disease is inflammatory related. And some of those produce in their own state more inflammation, triggering other health challenges, health diseases, or diagnoses. We also have an underlying degree of just overwhelmingly fired up immune responses. So when we have an inflamed body, we hold more fluid. The inflammation itself is a form of the body trying to protect itself. And essentially when the body is doing that, it can cause imbalance within our endocrine system, our hormones system. It causes imbalances within our central nervous system. And we see changes in the biochemistry and the levels of neuroendocrine balance that would yield an inflammatory reducing response. So what I want to highlight for you are going to be 9 particular food groups or items to be aware of, but more importantly, to begin reading labels. So I'm going to highlight some specific food categories, but then also some specific ingredients, because these sneak in to our everyday diet. And if you want to lower your inflammation levels, the first element is to lower and lower your inflammation, lower the causes. Food is a big, big cause. Stress is another one, and I have a lot of video content. We can do one about stress and inflammation. That's a whole nother topic. But specifically, I'm going to go in order in terms of how I see it. But again, there's really the ranking, they're all pretty much equal, but definitely one that is so prevalent, that is our main source of inflammation, is sugar. And specifically sucrose and high fructose corn syrup. So sugar in the form of like white sugar and high fructose corn syrup, which, by the way, high fructose corn syrup gets labeled in all these obscure ways. Corn syrup, that's high fructose corn syrup. Corn sugar, that's high fructose corn syrup. So the labeling, there's no laws for companies to label and the products that they produce. So when you start to read your label, you have to get sleuthy. You have to kind of put on your detective glasses and really be aware of how are they labeling this? Because now there's a lot of people like me for the last 10, 15 years, we've been saying, avoid sugar, avoid sucrose, avoid white sugar, avoid high fructose corn syrup. And they're getting savvy and labeling it differently. And they can. There's no rules that says you can't. So that's number one, sugar. Number two, dairy. Dairy is everywhere. Dairy is in a ton of packaged foods. It's in a lot of processed foods. It's in a lot of baked goods. It's very much an American diet. And dairy in all forms that's coming from a cow. So I'm specifically talking about pasteurized cow milk. This is so toxic to our body. Dairy causes mucus. And in mucus, the greater mucus production, we can become overwhelmed with mucus. That becomes a harboring point for bacteria. So we can have yeast infections, we can have bacterial imbalances in every point and part of our body that has the mucosal membrane. This could be in our intestines, it could be our stomach lining, GERD, all of the kind of upper GI problems, esophageal challenges, vaginal yeast infections, just all different types of gastrointestinal IBS, Crohn's, colitis, inflammatory bowel disease. Mucus is the harboring, feeding ground. And so if you eliminate the mucosal source, you eliminate the possibility for infection and inflammation. So dairy, for sure. Now, good dairy, I'll just highlight, like unpasteurized goat's milk, goat's cheese, all good. Nut milks, awesome. I love those. I love switching like cashew, oat milk, all different types of milk. Now, oat, you want it to make sure that it's a gluten-free, but dairy is, you've got to read your labels, because one of the things that is overwhelmingly dairy that is in the health category are going to be any of the protein shakes, protein drinks, protein bars that have a dairy related protein. And so you want to read your label. Specifically, you're going to see a labeling of a dairy-based protein. And so I'm trying to see, I don't carry a lot of, or we don't buy dairy in our family. So I literally was trying to find labels to show you all. But what you want to avoid is whey protein. And whey is WHEY. Whey, remember the little story when you're little about little Miss Muffet sat on a tuffet or whatever, eating her curds and whey? Well, the curds and whey, that's dairy. So whey protein is going to be a protein that creeps into the healthy lifestyle. It creeps into the keto lifestyle. Particularly, ketos are full on consuming way too much dairy, and it's part of the whole keto rash and illness that a lot of people get when they kick off keto pretty intensely. So whey, WHEY, is a milk-based protein you want to eliminate, okay? Now, 3, gluten. Gluten is another big offender. Gluten causes inflammation. It causes mucus and an inflammatory disorder. Essentially, gluten gets acknowledged in the body. It breaks down our microvilli, these little sea anemones in our small intestine that are supposed to be absorbing our food. It it plugs the little sea anemone hole that's supposed to be absorbing nutrients that causes infection, redness, inflammation, and causes leaky gut. Gluten ends up triggering our autoimmunity. And for a lot of Hashimoto's, a lot of RA, rheumatoid arthritis, and lupus, we can go back to a very unhealthy diet full of gluten, full of sugar, and full of milk. And you just think about that. I grew up on that diet. A lot of us did. And many of us still are in that world consuming some parts of it, trying to be healthy. But these things creep their way into even the healthy products. So gluten is something that it damages our intestines and causes a whole bunch of brain, gut health, gut thyroid imbalances. So do eliminate gluten, gluten, gluten. Now, for trans fats. Okay, so these are fats that they're not real fats. They have to be chemically altered or processed. And in the processing, there's a hydrogen processing. It makes this a very unhealthy, harmful fat. And the use of trans fats is really to help the product have a shelf life. So you're going to see trans fats in a lot of the pastries, the muffins, the breads, anything that has to be on a grocery store shelf for any longer than 3 to 5 days, which you think about it goes from manufacturing to packaging to distribution to, the distribution of the supermarkets to getting the shelf. That could be 2 to 3 weeks. You need something that's going to survive that, sit on the shelf, allow the shopper to buy it and take it home and consume it in a period of a few days or weeks or longer. The trans fats are very unhealthy and they are triggered. They're linked to almost every underlying health issue that is problematic for COVID. So heart disease, you're going to find trans fats trigger that, cause inflammation, cardiovascular inflammation, kidney-related disease and inflammation, insulin resistance and inflammation also within the pancreas and the liver. So there's going to be a liver pancreatic imbalance. What you want to look for labeling wise are the partially hydrogenated oils. Now, here's the other thing. A lot of these companies have gotten really savvy because we're all looking for that particular label. So they'll call it a little bit something different. You just have to look for hydrogenated, so if it's got hydro or hydrogenated in it, then that's going to be a trans fat. But trans fats are really about shelf life. Now, the other big one that unfortunately a lot of us, especially in quarantine mode, there are foods that you might be buying that you wouldn't ordinarily buy. Just want to be cognizant of making some of these conscious switches if you can. Nitrates and nitrites. These are two big preservatives that you're going to find in deli meats, bacon. You might even find these in some of the, like not dressings per se, but you're going to find them in some of the like sandwich meats, even like seriously, you find this in frozen, you find it in the refrigerated, like hams and things like that. We want to avoid that. And there's a lot of question as, is celery salt a better alternative? Just read your labels when you can. I know what I found. I did an Instacart yesterday for Aldi. I was running low on bananas and some other things. And I did get some Aldi finds. So if you guys want an Aldi finds, let me know. I was so excited. I got something really exciting. The labeling itself, you have to read really well. And the challenge that I found is that a lot of times the Instacart, the labels, I can't always see. And so like I am a label reader. Like that's the first thing I go to. Like I know my go-tos, I've already those labels, but if there's a new product, the first thing I do is flip it up, flip it over. I want to investigate and see because they can make all these great claims on the front, looks pretty, but that's just marketing and there's no regulation to that. So just know that. Let's see, this is what's 2, 4, 5, 6. Sixth item is, oh man, this is a huge offender. MSG, monosodium glutamate. This is everywhere. And in fact, if you guys haven't read this book, it's so quarantine pandemic worthy of reading. If you're going to spend time, if you're reading already, take some time, grab this book on Amazon. I'll post some links. Let me make sure I post those links. It's called the China Study. Okay, so I'm just writing that down, China Study. It's called the China Study, and it's by Dr. T. Colin Campbell. And if you guys are regular followers of mine, you know I've met him and his wife. Brian and I, actually, when we first found out we had Gabriel, they were one of the first couples that we told. We had a dinner with them in town. One of my, he's become a friend of mine. There's a producer that produced Forks Over Knives and also produced the newer book and newer series called Plant Pure Nation. And so I was tapped as an ambassador for that when I was in St. Pete, and we launched the viewing and all that. So anyway, Colin Campbell was part of the industry of food related, not research, but the creation of food and food being healthy and tasty. MSG is an additive that basically it's an addictive additive. It is put in a lot of foods for people to taste it in a different way. It tastes really, it's very palatable. People like it, and it triggers. There's a trigger that happens with our actual taste buds and our brain and our hypothalamus. We literally start to crave these foods. And that's another thing when a lot of people talk about cravings, it's not always about yeast or candida or even hormonal imbalances, or, there's a combination of all of that, sometimes nutrient deficiencies, but MSG is a big one. MSG is that like uncontrollable craving. Like, it's 10:30 and you're like, I'm really hungry, and you're standing in front of your refrigerator doors, they're open, or you're in your pantry and you're like feeling a flavor on your tongue. And you're like, I need that, but I don't know what it is. And you end up eating like several different things all at one time to try and figure out what it is. That's MSG. And we can have MSG toxicity. And it is very hard for our body to process, and it affects our brain-based endocrine system, or brain-located endocrine system. So MSG, let me tell you about some things where you're going to find it. Traditionally, you're going to find it in canned goods. You're going to find it in all of those shelf items. So MSG will be in there in some sort of way. Again, the labeling, they're not always going to come out and say MSG. You're going to find it at a lot of restaurants. And this kills me because I love eating all different types of like Asian foods, Japanese, Chinese, Indian, Thai, like Korean. I love that. The challenge is some of these restaurants use MSG, and MSG is, or their origins are in Japan. So the Japanese use it in a lot of their foods. And I tell you what, I probably experienced MSG toxicity when I lived over there. Like, I could not get enough of all of their little rice crackers and stuff. And, soy sauce will have MSG, dressings, a lot of like salad dressings. One of my favorite Florida, Tampa-based salad dressings, they made a slight change in their ingredient profile. And it was called Greek Boy. I don't know if you guys are familiar with it. Publix used to carry it. They made a change, and do you know what? They put MSG in it. And I was like, just so flabbergasted. I can't eat it anymore. I just can't. It just triggers. Like when we do MRIs and brain scans, when somebody eats MSG, it triggers that craving center. It's not good. It can just skew every hormonal cycle in our body. Deli meat, you're going to find it in fast foods. So just be aware, MSG is really, really bad. And Tawana to Inspire says MSG gave me vertigo. Huge, just inflammatory producer, major allergen source. A lot of bodies react to it. People get headaches. So if you're dealing with migraines or inflammation, like swelling in certain areas of your body, joint-related pain, start keeping a food-based journal. And that's the best way to figure out what foods are making you feel a certain way. And then start reading your labels. I even have patients that will track on an Excel spreadsheet. They'll have like the ingredients in a spreadsheet, and we can actually start to draw conclusions based on the food symptoms that they're having and some of those ingredients. We can actually start drawing out, okay, onion and garlic are causing you this, and what type of form of this food is it? And we can get really specific, but just know MSG, avoid. And when you go to restaurants, you have to ask. They are not going to highlight it, but you have to ask. And when we moved, one of the things that I had to do is call around to I've yet to find a really good Thai restaurant in town that does not put MSG in their sauces. it's heartbreaking. So, and I'm not great. I don't cook these meals really well. So I love to go to these restaurants, and they're always mom and pops, which I love supporting. But no one in our local town has MSG free sauce. It's crazy. Okay. Next up in the 7th spot is going to be sugar-free products. So the diet products, sugar-free yogurt, sugar-free creamers, sugar-free everything. It's really not sugar-free. There is a swap, an alternate sugar. And in fact, the alternate sugar is worse than the sugar. And so there's like scalings of it. Like you want to avoid sugar. But if you're going to eat sugar, just eat regular sugar. I'd rather you do that than the diet, the aspartame, and all of those others, the equals, this, those are all awful. They're adulterated. In particular, aspartame has so many links to so many metabolic imbalances. Very similar to MSG, you get aspartame that literally will overwhelm our control centers. So the hippocampus, the hypothalamus get overwhelmed. So those folks who are diet soda drinkers and are, consuming a lot of the diet related sugar-free products. And I have noticed that there's an aspect to, there's a generational component. A lot of times when I work with some individuals, I'll say this over and over again. We got to eliminate diet and the diet related stuff. And then 3 months later, 6 months later, we do our check-in appointment and we sit down and go over what's going on. And like, it's psychological. They're like, I got to lose weight. I can't get rid of my sugar-free, but it's the sugar-free that's causing the cravings. It's also causing the metabolic imbalances, but the marketing has been so good. The industry has done such a great job and like literally brainwashing people to think that that's what they need to lose weight. It's just so bad. Very similar to also like the no fat community. But again, I'm not going to say diet sodas, diet foods, sugar-free foods, stay away from those. Those are just chock full of all sorts of yucky stuff. And they're non-foods. I don't even consider that a food product. Okay. Next up, let's talk about the fats and the oils. So one of the oils that, we know omegas, we need omegas, we need a good balance of 3, 6, 9. There's a 5 and a 7, omega 5 and 7, and even like a 12, 13. But what we have to avoid are the omega 6s. Omega 6s are overwhelmingly out of balance in our standard diets. Where you're going to find omega 6 are going to be things like soy-based oils, and soy oil is literally veggie oil. So the veggie oil, or what canola is so bad. I had to actually buy some because Gabriel had the school project, and I did not want to waste our good healthy oils. It was not a baking product. It was something he was going to be using for like fine motor skills. And I was like, you know what? I'll just break down and get canola. I don't have that. We don't carry that. It's cheaper, but it's also been the processing. There's hydrogenation that happens. But we need to talk about the oils. They're in mayo, and it's in a lot of stuff. It's going to be, these types of oils are going to be in a lot of flavored marinades. You're going to find it in sauces, sauce packs. So just be really cognizant of avoiding omega 6. And it's a naturally occurring oil, but it has to be in balance. So just like estrogen, progesterone balances the estrogen. When it's all by itself, it's not in control. It's out of control. It's not in balance. So while we do see it in meat-related products, there's a balance, especially if that animal is eating grass and healthy oils and red clover, which is a detoxer, which balances and breaks up some of those unhealthy omegas. So you're going to want to make switches. So instead of your hydrogenated oils or your canola oils, vegetable oil, switch to coconut oil is my favorite to bake with. By far, hands down, it's my baking substitute. It makes our brownies, which by the way, Gabriel wants to make brownies. It makes our brownies much better. If we do homemade brownies, we do those. Sometimes we'll do like a gluten-free box, but I use coconut oil as my main substitute. Then in your salad dressings and things like that, you can use the raw form of olive oil. I don't like to cook with olive oil. It doesn't have the best high heat point, becomes toxic at high points, which you don't want to fry your meats or your eggs in an olive oil. Olive oil is better at room temperature. Just think of that like you want it in a room temperature form. Then also avocado. Avocado is really good. I don't use that as much as I probably should, and I need to experiment more. Ghee is another one that I recommend. That's really good. But yeah, so Piper says all veggie oils are omega-6 and avoid canola. It is poison, very inflammatory. She's right. It's a genetically modified seed. All you have to do is drive out to the west and you see massive quantities of these fields. The challenge here is they have herbicides, pesticides, and insecticides. So you get that also exacerbated by the hydrogenated processing. And then you just have it's like a toxic bomb, and it's everywhere. It is also going to be in a lot of the products that you buy that might be perishable from like your delis, Publix, the supermarkets. They're going to use canola oil, and read your labels, because even like you think, oh, the deli's making it, it's like homemade. It totally isn't. Okay, so the other thing that I want to highlight on that front is that your healthier oils are actually good for your heart health. They carry vitamin D, they carry vitamin K. So just know you're also getting other good nutrients by making that swap. You get a depleted degree of nutrients in the veggie canola-based oils. So just know that that swap is so much healthier. And my last and final on our list of inflammatory related foods, and it's really not a food, but it is alcohol. The recommendation that I have is really avoid it at as much as you can, but definitely, no more than 1 glass of alcohol for women and no more than 2 glasses for men in a setting, which would be a day, maybe like Friday or Saturday night or whatever. But, constant consumption of alcohol puts a lot of strain on the liver. The liver is our core detox process. The liver is responsible for detoxing out the MSG, or is trying to. So the liver is going to be dealing with MSG. It's going to be dealing with all these herbicide, insecticide, and pesticides from your canola oil. It's going to be dealing with, the high fructose corn syrup. And these items, these 9 inflammatory foods, are the main reason Americans are walking around without non-alcohol related liver sclerosis. So sclerosis of the liver, fatty liver. And I've gotten a lot of questions from a lot of you. Can you talk about fatty liver? These 9 items are all about the reasons behind a toxic liver. We need our livers to be unburdened. The best and most effective way to lower your inflammation level is to eliminate those items and help your body clear out and detox from those harmful ingredients. The liver, we need it to be optimized. And a lot of these cases, I was just reading something more about the liver-related inflammation. It's the liver and the kidney inflammation that's causing a lot of sepsis in these COVID cases. So it is pretty intense in terms of just all the different things you need to be reading for. But as you start to identify, the best source, if any of you are watching this are a little overwhelmed, the best thing you can do is to literally just go through a cabinet, and over a period of a few hours, go through your ingredients, look at the ingredients of the labels of all your different products that you own. A lot of times I'm using the same stuff. And so I know what I want to avoid and I know what's good. You'll get your list of good items, and those are going to be the things that you always have in stock, that you're always buying, and like coconut oil, I have that always on hand. It's so good. Carol St. Andrew says, dairy is hard. I love cheese. I hear ya. I grew up as a meat and cheese eater. And unfortunately, I paid for it as a young child, not knowing just how overwhelming that diet was. It was stressful on my body. It wasn't until I got sick in my early 20s and really had my wellness epiphany, but also my professional epiphany that, we are what we eat, and we need to eat clean and healthy products. We need to eat live, whole foods. And, the products that are harmful, so many of this sugar, dairy, gluten, trans fats, those are all in the middle of your grocery stores. So I used to take people, wow, this is early on. I used to take people into grocery stores. We would do grocery shopping tours. And I would post in like our Natural Awakenings magazine, and we'd have a little sign up. It was the old days. People would call because we didn't have like web forms or anything like that. So they'd call, and I'd get a list of like 10 or 12 people, and they'd meet me at the grocery store. And then I'd go through and highlight. And so I'd go up to, sometimes I have my gals that answer the phone and manage our front. I'd have them ask questions like, what's your typical diet and what are you feeding your family? And so I'd kind of know what they were leaning towards. So each trip would be tailored to highlighting some of those points that would help them most. So we would go in and I'd go over to the deli because a lot of families are ordering, the slice and go turkey and cheese and all these other things. And you start looking at what's the sodium level? So, we're not even getting into the sodium level, but you have nitrates and nitrates. You've got some hydrogenated sauce that's been, the honey roasted, then it's smoked. So that's a whole nother aspect, so there's dairy, there's gluten, there's MSG, there's gluten in the sauce. Nobody thinks that a meat's going to have some gluten, but it might. So there's just a lot to assess. And sometimes it's overwhelming, but you just take it one step at a time, one product, one group at a time. And you can start to make some eliminations and switches. And that's the best and most effective way to really lower your inflammation levels. Once you do that, then the topic, and I have a whole playlist here on YouTube where you can watch. It's been something I've been working on over the last 3 years of different video content specific to the inflammatory related anti-inflammatory supplements, ways to address the autoimmune related inflammation, the lymphatic related inflammation, our immune triggers, our lymphatic triggers. It is very, very impactful to make these eliminations and then allow your body to kind of get to a stasis for a few months, and then either start detoxing certain aspects or supportive nutrient density and detoxing your liver. So you first have to eliminate the source. It's like having a boat with 10 holes in it and trying to get the water out. So inflammation is like driving a boat with 10 holes and you're constantly trying to get the water out. And, the supplements that are anti-inflammatories are the buckets pouring the water out, but you've got holes coming in because of the daily diet and the daily offenders. So you got to close those holes, then use the buckets to get out any of the excess. And then, the supplements after that and food really is the cure. It's like the redo of your whole entire boat. So I hope that's helpful. Monica Casey, she gave us a $4.99 super chat. Thank you. I appreciate it. Yay. That makes my morning. DWT277, is boar's head lunch meat okay? No, unfortunately, they're natural. They have a line, it's called a natural line. A lot of supermarkets don't carry it. But in general, boar's head meat is highly dense in nitrates and nitrites. I actually had one of my college roommates worked for a boar's head when we were in college. Poor girl. She was a little sampler. And so she'd set up her little table and sample out meats and stuff. Saturday and Sunday mornings at the pick up Publix in college. She always had fun stories when she'd come home at 3 or 4 in the evening. Feel like you would not believe who was rolling in the grocery store at 9 or 10 a.m. But yes, nitrates and nitrites, they're really, really bad. Sheila, is lactose-free milk okay? Milk is milk. Doesn't matter if it's lactose-free. Lactose-free basically is a deactivator of the lactose-related enzyme, but dairy's dairy. Eliminate dairy. I would make a switch. Oat milk is going to be your most consistent. Comparatively, it's the most like milk. We use it all the time. Another alternative, cashew, walnut, almond milk, you have coconut milk. There's just a lot of alternatives. So Aviva says cashew milk unsweetened. I love cashew milk. I love cashew and oat. They're my favorite. Is there a difference with goat milk? So no, traditionally, no. I mean, the big thing that I ask and I'm cognizant of, most of the time you're not getting a lot of goat milk in the stores. But what I do research on, at farmers markets, I want to know How are their goats being raised? Where are they feeding them? I go even deeper. Like, if your food, if it's an animal, if your food is inflammatory because it's being fed hydrogenated junk and lots of omega-6s, and these are things like dairy products, we need to know what they're consuming. Sometimes they're getting molasses and they're grass-fed and they're roaming around a pasture and eating clover and dandelion. That's a different milk and different cheese and different meat than, the stock houses where they're in fine, contained spaces. They're getting fed soy and corn, which they're not meant to eat. That's very inflammatory. They get infections. They have to have antibiotics. This is this vicious cycle. And to be honest with you, please read the China study and I think it's still on Netflix. Watch the docuseries where my friend produced this docuseries. It's called Plant Pure Nation. It is awesome and it's great. There are tons of other documentaries. Like the other one I love is called Fresh. I love that. But that'll give you more insight into the whole process of like the traditional conventional farming versus the old school, like grandma, grandpa, great grandma used to, where they would switch the, cow, they move a cow to a pasture, then they bring the chickens in. That's very different. That is why in the older days, folks were not nearly as sick as they are now. We're mass producing things. It's our conventional farming, our conventional, food lots. Those are so harmful. They're not only harmful for our bodies, they're harmful for the animals, but they're also harmful for the environment. Good morning, Robert. Do you recommend any good online continuing education courses for homeopathic medicine? Yes, I have. I have to look. So I know there's been some changes a little bit more recently within some of the schools, but homeopathic, there's a few. Let me see. I might have to get back to you on that. Let's see, Karen, is flaxseed omega-6? Flaxseed does have omegas. It's not as overwhelmingly imbalanced in the omega-6. Let's see. Yeah, supersized is a good one. Almond milk needs to be organic. Yeah, you're right. Piper, and that's actually why I don't drink. I don't mention it because I've gotten away from almond. So Piper has a good point. Almonds now are really, most of our almond is being grown in California. There's actually there's a good documentary about it. I have to think about this. It's on Netflix, and it's a series of things, but they go into almond and they go into like the honeybees. So the almond groves are killing our honeybees. We're having all this like cross contamination. It's like viral craziness. It's basically pandemics of within honeybees. So let me just backtrack. Almonds, they use a lot of water. So they're linking it to some of the environmental changes in California, why we're having so many wildfires, but also for the almond population to produce, they need to import honeybees. So honeybee growers actually grow and transport these honeybees across state lines, and they plant them. And like you'll have a honeybee hive from Florida and from Maine and from Ohio, and they all have different ecosystems, but then they put them all together and these hives get sick. Sometimes they die. But to also her point, they're like spraying them. It's not what we think it is. Like when we go and buy, we have as consumers a disconnect in terms of the growing process and the harvesting process, and even, the husbandry, the growing of and supporting of the animals. It's not as pretty and beautiful as we see in imaging on the packages and on the commercials. And when we really dig into it, it's quite overwhelming. And then you get to choose, do you want to support that? And you support it with your vote and what you choose to eat. And then the benefit is your body follows suit in terms of how well it feels. Jenny, thank you, Jenny, for coming in. Okay, so tomorrow, actually, I'm going to start taking Sundays off. I definitely feel like I need some mental health days. So I'm going to have Sundays off. So moving forward, tomorrow I won't be live. I think I'm going to go live on Monday. I think I need Monday as like an actual focus work day where Gabriel and Brian's off, so I can get some mommy time focus. L-lysine, do you think it's good for cystic acne? Gut healing's good for acne. Oh, so Instagram, you guys are going to be tuning off. I'll bring you guys back on because I know this has prompted a lot of questions. But definitely, as far as the goat milk, there's definitely a different taste. I don't like goat milk. I'm not a big fan of it. Even goat cheese, I have to have it mixed with things. Let's see, omega-6 can imbalance hormones for sure. Okay, so Instagram, come back on. All right, let's see. Let me save that. Oh, I can't say. Oh gosh, I have too many stuff. I have my phone. I have to sort through all my phone stuff. Do you guys ever get where your phone gets overwhelmed? Oh gosh, why is it not saving? Hold on. It's not saving this. Let's see. Did it save it? Oh, it's coming soon. Okay. All right, let me pull them back up. Hold on. Okay, so oh, and by the way, let me just do a quick little plug. So if you guys do decide to check out Aaliyah for any of their skincare, this actually just happens to be on my feed right now. Alpine, I don't know if you can see this that well. The lighting's really weird. Oh, shoot, let me see. I should zoom in. Okay, so Alpine, this whole brand is carried by Aaliyah. It's ALPYN Beauty. Oh my gosh, they have some of the best skincare. They have a lot of anti-inflammatory related skincare. It's fantastic. Okay, let me go back over here. Let me pull up Instagram. Okay, you might hear my little man too. He's downstairs. Hey everybody, we're back for part 2, where I'm just really going through questions that have come in from all of you curious about the 9 major food inflammatory producing offenders in our lives, eliminating them. So some questions here, and feel free to list your questions down below. I'll answer some here on YouTube, and then I'll just scroll up and answer some more. So I see Maria, what do you think about macadamia milk? Oh, it's fantastic. I love macadamia nuts. So macadamia, there's a different kind of flavor. It kind of depends. The way I see it is, how do you want to use it? We're not cereal eaters in our family. And so it's usually going to be something that we might mix into like my mommy cookies or like raw food bars. But I do like it. Let's see. Important female. Okay, so Lisa, important female issue. How can I stop having yeast infections? So it's gut related. Most often it's mucosal imbalances. So definitely dairy elimination, add good healthy probiotics. There's really good vaginal health related probiotics that give you the right probiotics. If you go to my Full Script store, there are several vaginal inserts. So this goes above and beyond just taking an internal supplement. And it's, as long as you have access, you log in, you give your name and email, you've got access to everything we offer in Full Script. There are some things that are scripted that you have to have. I actually have to trigger that. But they have some items that are suppository, so inserts that are very powerful and potent. And so for some of my women that just can't resolve, bacterial vaginosis or recurrent yeast infections, I will have them do a series of anywhere from 7 to 10 day suppository inserts. And you can even do this when you are cycling. That's one thing. If you are noticing that when your menstrual cycle is happening, either before, during, or after, and you're getting yeast infections, that's a detox component. So there's different kind of aspects to address, and there's just so many variances within that. But for women, our menstrual cycle is part of our detox, and it can tell us a lot about some of those detox organs as well. Let's see. Rachel, foods to avoid for lymphedema. I have a whole video playlist for lymphedema, and actually have several downloads that I'll reference you to on those that are specific. Let's see. Almond milk goes bad fast. I honestly, it's been a while since I have purchased it. Now that oat milk is great, that's available, hands down, that's where I go. Okay, so Summer, if whey protein isolate, which by the way, the isolate's even more toxic. So if whey protein isolate helps build muscle, what's an alternative to whey? Oh my gosh, there's so many plant-based proteins. There are so many options. So like for instance, and I meant to share this with you guys a little while ago. So this is one of my like go-to protein drinks. Like usually it used to be when I was on the run and would take this, but let me share with you this. This is a plant-based protein drink, and plant-based meaning this bad boy it has coconut milk as its source, pea protein, it has cacao powder, inulin, it has maca, reishi, stevia, ashwagandha. I love this stuff. I'm working with them. I need to figure out how we can get you guys some discounts, because most of the time you can only get this in the store, but they're making some online changes. So stay tuned. But so pea is really good. Hemp protein. Whey is not the only protein. And in fact, there have been so many advances in the last 7 to 8 years in terms of the plant-based protein. Amazing. Just fantastic for minimizing your exposure to whey. You just have to read your labels. And the whole idea of, whey is the only thing that builds protein, that's all marketing. And so companies like GNC, that's all marketing. All these like, mega muscle builder, blah, 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 those different brands. That's what they really focus on. And here's the other thing to know. That's a cheap protein. So companies that want to minimize their margins when they're formulating a product, well, the ones that are cheaper that are mass producing, which a lot of these items that you get at like Costco, the big bulk stores, those are not healthy products because it's all mass quantities. And they're going to source cheap items, cheap products, and cheap ingredients. And whey, it falls in the cheap ingredient category. And the other thing too is like the whey isolate, most of the time it's GMO, it's not organic. Yeah, not a big fan. So, and I'm not a big fan of the soy either. So I definitely want you to avoid soy. But pea, hemp, there's just so many different alternatives. Okay, hey Maria, we've got Maria on. Okay, insulin resistant. So one of the best sources to minimize, or best ways to minimize insulin resistance, is to add in liquid multi-minerals, chromium and selenium, two really key minerals. Selenium, eat Brazil nuts every day, 3 or 4, does the trick. Add in some pumpkin seeds and other healthy nuts like walnuts and things like that. But definitely you want to make sure you've got your selenium. 200 mcgs is what you want to aim for if you've got a categorization in terms of dosing. Okay, is this keto? Let me see. I traditionally, I'm not full keto. It's not. It has 21 grams of carbs, but they also do. It does have some MCT oil in it. Yeah, it has inulin. I love it. They actually have one. So fiber-wise, 9 grams of fiber in this. You have to shake it up really well. Like, I don't know if you can see it. The inulin kind of settles. But the, it's got 16 grams of protein, 9 grams of sugar, and 9 grams of fiber. That is great for insulin balance, because what we want to do is when you have insulin imbalances or receptivity challenges, you want to make sure your fiber content is, if not equal to or greater than the sugar content. So items or fruits or vegetables that have more fiber and they're sweet, the fiber slows down the absorption of the sugar. Hey, Pat, Ron and I were lucky to grow up where there was little processed food yet. Rotation of crops was done, very little insecticides. Yeah, I mean, that rotational cropping is huge. Also, the other thing too is the ground cover. The ground cover of like alfalfa nourishes the soil. I'm really digging into that with my garden, which Instagram, I'll be posting some pictures. I'm going to be doing some more gardening. So I have this cute, oh my gosh, I'm so excited. So I have this cute little frog I ordered off of Amazon. It was one thing I had to order from Amazon. I'm in kind of a boycott with them. It's a little frog. So frogs are my thing in my garden. It's kind of the little theme. And it's a cute little frog, and he has these cute little eyeballs, and he's got a little solar panel, I think, on the back of his head. And his little eyeballs are solar lights at night. So he's going near my little frog filter, or I have a bird bath, and I have a solar filter coming for the bird bath. So we've noticed tons of birds. We have all these unique birds I haven't seen because I think I put the bird bath in the enclosed garden. And so they don't have to worry about the dogs bothering them when they're taking their little baths or soaking their seeds or whatever. Okay, so let's see here. Let's see, Dana. Oh gosh, seriously. Dana, I can't even handle the comment. It's not from the US, please. Let's get on the same page, people. Conspiracy theories about this virus are so non-productive. Okay, so June 12, 1776, current big government corporation agriculture theories and practices are healthcare destruction, number one, right? Totally. Okay, so let's see here. Questions. Eggplant, potatoes, tomatoes. Yeah, so those definitely do have harmful. But to be honest with you, the major things that we find in the SAD diet are going to be sugar, dairy, gluten. You know, if you're eating a lot of sugar, dairy, gluten, you're going to be eating more processed foods. It's not like people are overly whelming. You know, the standard American diet is not overwhelmingly rich in a ton of cucumbers and squashes and eggplant. Like that, unfortunately, that's not going to be in the standard diet. And that's why I listed these 9. I don't disagree with that. But, you know, the big thing that does find its way in the standard diet are tomatoes. But again, that is not something that people are eating every day. Every day, people are eating sugar, dairy, gluten. Okay. Four Sigmatic, yes. Love Four Sigmatic. Yeah, Rebel drinks are great. Piper, yeah, gotta avoid soy. Let's see, I'm just answering. Okay, what do I think about lectins? Yeah, I'm not a big fan of lectins. I actually have a whole video that I did about the lectins. Dr. Gundry has a really good series, lots of books about that, and details it. You know, essentially lectins are a protein barrier that essentially keeps the plant alive. So it's the idea that, you know, plants have their own survival method with animals and humans that try and eat them. And so there's the plant evolution, and he kind of digs into that. That's why like Italian cooking or any cooking that uses a lot of lectin-rich foods, like, you know, like I'm growing bell peppers, all different types of peppers, you know, peeling the actual skin and coring out the seeds. That's been traditional in cooking. And you actually find that at, you know, the restaurants that do that. And depending on too, like if you make your own pasta sauce, you peel your skins, but you can also get in some of the cans, granted they're BPA, but they're imported Italian peeled tomatoes and, you know, de-seeded. So the seeds and the skin tend to be the more caustic. But I also categorize depending on the blood type. That's where you can get really detailed of the science, the biochemistry of food when it breaks down in the body. And everybody's body's biochemistry is different. Their gut, or everybody. No one person has the same microbiota and the bacterial levels within their body. So you have to be very specific. I don't want to be broad brush with a lot of these things, but for sure, these 9 items cover a lot. Okay, let's see. Let's see. Oh, and by the way, I posted something on Instagram the other day. It's still getting a lot of coverage. So do check out Instagram about the masks. There's been all sorts of really insightful conversations about the masks. Craziness. Got to say the sales circulars dictate what veggies are in my diet for the week. Let's see, staying away from dairy, but looking for an alternative to keep my calcium up. So here's the deal. It's less, that's the other thing. There are plants that have more calcium than dairy. We're fed that. That's this kind of like brainwashing of marketing. So that's not true. So kale, spinach, you know, lightly blanch those. You don't want to eat them raw. And a lot of vegetables have more calcium than your dairy. So, but most importantly, it's not about the calcium. It's about your D. Get your D tested. and then assess that. So as far as non-dairy yogurts, Gabriel's he's like the connoisseur of our non-dairy yogurts. He loves that. It's also the way I slip a ton of stuff in. Like I put in some moringa the other day and he was like, Mommy, this tastes spicy. I mean, he totally like zeroed in on a new flavor profile in his already super chocolatey, protein dense. The kid, I swear. I'm racing a little health monster, which is awesome, but he totally called me out on my moringa ad. So the ones that we love cashew. Cashew's a big one. Texture wise, it's nice. Cashew, coconut milk. I am very cognizant of the coconut milk. The one thing in your non-dairy yogurts you have to read is an ingredient called carrageenan. It's an emulsifier. It's what keeps it kind of congealed, because that's the one thing when we have an alternative, it's not going to look and feel and texture wise be the same as the original. And these companies know that, and in taste testing and all their like data as they're rolling out new products, they're trying to cater to that. And then these like harmful ingredients come in. So carrageenan, I have a video on that here on YouTube. Watch that video if you're curious about that particular ingredient. It's another one that's a gut offender, but it's not in everything as much as these 9. Carol St. Andrew. Yeah. So you want to lightly blanch, lightly steam your spinach. So there's aspects of spinach that can cause imbalance within the thyroid and other systems. I know there's a lot to absorb. Do work. You can replay this for sure. Carrageenan is everything. Yeah, it's Sharon. It is. I get frustrated with the carrageenan. So delicious was a big offender initially. I think they were hit pretty heavily by the Food Babe, and I think they ended up pulling the carrageenan out of their product. But I don't even lean towards them. I mean, this is like carrageenan. You even have to look in. Like we don't eat a whole lot of ice cream in our family, but because it's summertime, it's fun. Like, we've got some things for Gabriel in our freezer chest. Even some of like my nut ice creams, I had to read the labels on them because nut ice creams, coconut, what are some of the alternatives? Oh, there's cashew. Oh, this is really exciting. There's finally an oat ice cream that's really good. But like you have to read because carrageenan is in it. It's like, why is carrageenan in a frozen product? It's just craziness. So Carol grabbed some sour cream, thought it was healthy, had carrageenan in it. Yeah, so carrageenan can be a really major gut offender. It can really, really trigger a lot of gut challenges and gut autoimmunity. And, the gut is the source of autoimmunity. So Hashimoto's, RA, rheumatoid, lupus, all of those you want to eliminate, any way you can eliminate the gut imbalances. Carrageen, it's C-A-R, let's see, C-A-R-R, carrageen, C-A-R-R-E-G-E-N-A-N, I think, carrageenan. I'll look it up. Let's see. Yeah, I think that's how you spell it. Okay. Yeah. C-A-R-R, or it might be an A-E. I don't know, but carrageenan, it's a standout word for sure. You'll notice it. Diesel is doing sprouts. Awesome. I love it. I did an ancient Eastern mix with fenugreek. Oh, that's so fantastic. So carrageenan, there's different sources of carrageenan. Not all of it's coming from algae. I'll tell you that. So, but carrageenan in its natural form, it should be good, but it gets adulterated. But I will tell you, I'm a huge fan of blue-green algae. Okay. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I think it's a 2 E's, but if you just Google it, it'll give you the right spelling. Okay. So what about Galen gum? That's in blue almond. Yeah. So the gums, there's different types of gums, and I actually let me write that down. That's like worthy of one of my edited videos. Some gums are better than others. You are going to find that they're generally some sort of emulsifier blend. At the end of the day, if you can make it on your own, homemade is so much better. the challenge that we've had over the last 50 years is convenience, and convenience kills. I mean, that's just plain and simple. That's the way it is. And so if you make choices, just make a better choice and limit some of those majorly offensive products out there. But I that's a good idea. Morris and Monica, I appreciate that. Okay, so powerful energy and sprouts. Yeah, so good. All right, friends. So it is almost 10:30. We're going to have our middle morning breakfast. And Diesel says, I'm so grateful for your suggestion about reducing the swelling on my thyroid with medical C-D. Yay. Love it. Yes, good stuff. In fact, I was going to tell you something about that. Oh, I'm creating a video for Octagon Biolabs that I think will be on their website and their YouTube channel. I'm not taking any more risks with that type of content on my YouTube channel. It's not worth it to get a hit like I did. We had 4 videos that I was dinged. I literally got warning and then strike. So you get 1 warning and then the second one's a strike. And YouTube has a 3 strikes you're out policy. And supposedly that content is in violation. It's so dumb. Even though we have the Farm Bill. I mean, I had my attorney help us out with language and they're like, nope. So they get to censor content. And this is one of the pieces that they censor. But I'm going to put out a video about immune modulation because there's a big immune modulation factor. Oh, Carol, thank you. Liver detox, ? Even if blood work says healthy liver. Dandelion, milk thistle. Those 2 together twice, depending on what you want to do, 2 to 3 times a day. More intense would be like a coffee enema. I love those. So good. But that is extremely powerful. Dandelion. And the dandelion tea from traditional medicinals is kind of the highest potency that you could get. Even like your capsules are about 500 milligrams. Tea bag, 1,500. Like power punch. And you will know if your liver is detoxing by changes in the bowel color and the frequency. So if you're constipated, you're either dehydrated, lacking magnesium, you can have both, and there could be liver toxicity because the bile is the toxicity exiting. So you want to move the bowels, and the liver is the way to do that. So love that. Okay, yeah, coffee enemas are fantastic. All right, friends, I'm going to run. And don't forget, Aaliyah, 15% off sale. I'm going to be stocking up. So I'm really excited. Indy Lee is on there. I love all of her stuff. She has really good body scrubs and a really nice rose cleanser. So I love her cleansers. They're really gentle. And yeah, and then Cloven Hollow. This is an Atlanta-based brand. And it's a great, like seriously, if you guys are lipstick people, like I'm a lip glosser, but this is a more like neutral color. See, you can't even tell. It's not that bad, but like she has some bold color. She even has, I think, a blue color, but her eye palette, the Cloven Hollow eye palette is almost always the palette I wear. And then the other palette is Aether Beauty. That's worthy of getting. And she has I think she has a Jacob's tree. I don't know. There's a new one that came out that was really pretty. That's on my list. But Aaliyah always has these sales like every quarter. Oh, yeah, you have the bronzer. Yeah. So definitely Aether Beauty and Cloven Hollow, they're worthy of checking out. And they're all really clean. So like this, seriously, I could walk around for the next 8 hours and my lips will have this color. I don't know if you can see, it has not come off on my, well, maybe like a little. Oh no, that's actually from there's no lip stuff on here. And I've been drinking this. So I love that. And she has some really good stuff. But yeah, I'm waiting for her to put out more eye makeup. I'm a huge eye makeup person. But yeah, and then the other one, they have some really good eye like mascara. So I'm going to queue up mascara, a liner, and then a whole bunch of body skincare. Oh, and the other one is, let's see, what is it called? One Love. I love One Love. One Love has one of the best charcoal masks ever. And it's like a detoxing mask, but it's a gentle exfoliator. That's a mask that I put on. I'll do it in the morning. And without fail, I get a lot of you saying, oh, your skin looks really great. It's because I do that mask. I do it before my, when I'm getting ready in the morning, and then I put my makeup on and it's like, it's so great. So I do that. And then the Josh Rosebrook, I don't think he's on sale. I'm trying to see who's here. We're supposed to get a Home Depot delivery today. The garden's really kicking off. But yeah, so do check out Aaliyah. Have fun shopping in there. DM me on Instagram. I'm going to try and, we've been overwhelmed with the DMs, but I've got a backlog from the last, it's probably say the last week. But if you DM me today, I've got my phone on. It's fully charged. I can help you out with some shopping tips. So anyway, yes. Thanks everybody for tuning in. I hope you guys have a great day. Happy Memorial Day weekend. I'll be live on Monday. So if you guys want to tune in, relaxing Monday morning, 9 a.m. show, I will do probably another kind of inflammation or immune boosting related video on Monday. And stay tuned. All right, friends, have a great day. Bye. And I'm posting the link here. Here's the Aaliyah link. It's now in the super chat as well. So I had it in the beginning, but click on that. That'll take you to the store. Will I link these? So YouTube or Instagram, I'm not able to link yet. But if you run over, actually, you know what I'll do? I'll post the link in my description box. So the website that I'll link you to will be the Aaliyah link. Okay. All right, you guys, have a great day. See you on Monday. And follow me on Instagram. Bye. All right. Let's see. Bye, YouTube. Thanks so much. Have a great day. Bye.